It's May 16th, 2012. 28 years ago today, in 1984, Rick Joseph Rypien was born in Crow's Nest Pass, Alberta, a small town in the Canadian Rockies. After 4 years with the Regina Pats of the Western Hockey League and a one-year stint in the minors, in 2006, Rypien signed a contract with the Vancouver Canucks, where his hard-nosed play and willingness to fight much larger opponents made him an instant fan favorite. Rypien spent 6 years with the Canuck organization, splitting time between the big club and its farm team in Manitoba, before signing in the spring of 2011 with the Winnipeg Jets, a team set to rejoin the NHL after a 15-year absence. But before Rypien played a game with Winnipeg, he killed himself in Crow's Nest Pass, found by a family member in his home. Rypien was one of 3 NHL players to die during the 2011 off-season. New York Rangers enforcer Derek Boogaard died from an accidental overdose of alcohol and oxycodone. Former Maple Leafs tough guy Wade Belak died of an apparent suicide in a Toronto hotel. Opponents of fighting and hockey seized on Rypien's death and the 2 others. Rough, tough hockey, they said, leads to brain injuries, which leads to mental illness, which leads to suicide or deadly drug abuse, then death. The story went international. TV news broadcasts and newspaper headlines proclaimed the link. End fighting now or court future tragedy. But there was one problem. No one, anywhere, had any proof. While concussions are a problem in an increasingly faster game played by bigger and bigger players, the claim that injuries from hockey fights contributed to the deaths of Rypien, Boogaard, and Belak was based on nothing. Pure hysteria. Forget about medical evidence. Apart from the 3 deaths in 2011, there was no anecdotal evidence. Fighting has been a part of the NHL since the early days of Eddie Shore and Brill Cream, existing without a suicide epidemic. Show me one other confirmed suicide by an NHL enforcer in the 100-year history of the league. You can't. Yet everyone from CBC to the Globe and Mail parroted this lie. Rick Rypien suffered from clinical depression for at least 10 years before he died. Even before the death of his girlfriend, who died in a car accident en route to one of Rypien's Regina Pat Junior games. While a Canuck, he took 2 leaves of absence from the team, highly unusual for a professional athlete, an indication of Rypien's mental state. He was mentally ill, clinically depressed, and tragically, despite the best efforts of friends and family, was unable to surface from the darkness before that fateful summer day. That's why Rypien died, not because he dropped the gloves every now and then. To use Rypien's death as a tool in a war on hockey fighting is beyond shameful. However, if the NHL played a role in Rypien's death, it's worth exploring. In 2012, professional sports celebrates money and fame, 2 cheap and superficial trappings above all else. The NHL and its throngs of media members pumps up the profiles and egos of players, creating an illusion. NHL players, by virtue of playing in the NHL, have reached a zenith in the human experience, gods above the rest of us. Pro sports prescribes money and idol worship. Anyone unfulfilled by this prescription must be crazy. But that story, those headlines, are likely a little too real. The myth of Rypien's death and its link to on-ice fights is more pliable. A suicide drug abuse epidemic among NHL fighters allows ample opportunity to replay fights on TV. Good color, as they say in newsrooms. And it absolves the rest of us, consumers incarnate, of responsibility. Whatever the reality, it's cold comfort to the folks in Crow's Nest Pass, who celebrated the birth of a son, a brother, and a teammate 28 years ago today.